Hello friends, I am Mohammad Tariq, faculty of Vajiram and Ravi in Rajendra Nagar, New Delhi. We are going to discuss Mahatma Gandhi, how to prepare for this topic for both main as well as preliminary examination based on the last few year questions as well as the syllabus given in general studies, paper 1 and paper 4. Even in essay, this topic is very important, and last year in 2023, they asked questions on Gandhi and Tagore on nationalism. So what we do in the classes that you have to prepare Gandhi under two broad heading, Gandhi in South Africa and Gandhi in India. In South Africa, if we study like this, Gandhi's major events in South Africa and Gandhian thoughts which he developed in South Africa, and partly his thought was developed in India. So while discussing Gandhian thoughts in India, we will also bring Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, Tagore and B.R. Ambedkar. Now, generally, they do ask questions on some great nationalists and to compare them about some of their thoughts, like on nationalism, on education, which was asked last year in 2023, on role of state, especially with Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, role of religion in politics, especially Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, and model of development. That Gandhian model of development, Nehruvian model of development is often a matter of huge academic discussion in post-independent India. Similarly, Gandhian revolutionaries, that includes Bhagat Singh, Subhash Chandra Bose and many more, on what line they had differences. Then Gandhi's various movements in India, which right from Champaran till Quit India movement, we have to prepare. So my class notes and handouts given here would be of great help for both prelims as well as main examination, and you just have to supplement yellow page with which we are providing. So let's start today. South Africa and Mahatma Gandhi, in which we have to discuss major events in South Africa. And the total period in which he lived here was basically in 1893 to 1914. Why Gandhi was invited and by whom? What he did in South Africa? What are those important laws or controversial laws which was the reason why Gandhi intervened for Indians? Who were those Indians living in South Africa? On what principle Gandhi fought for the right of Indians, who were hardly 2% of the total population in South Africa, as 18% were of white race, English and Dutch were mostly, 70% people were the black race, and 9% were of mix, that is called colored people. So that demography is very important to understand, because Gandhi was hardly catering the need of 2% of the total population of South Africa. They were mostly traders and indentured laborers who were invited by various companies for mines and plantation works. These people were living in a very poor and depleted condition, obviously with lot of racial discrimination. They were not educated. Even the traders who were from Gujarat as well as from some other part like Tamil, like northern India, they were both Hindus and Muslims. There were some Parsis, there were some Sikh. So what is interesting, when Gandhi went to South Africa in 1893, he already had mini India to address. And that, of course, would help when he would come back, as he knew already a chunk of Indians in South Africa. So in 1893, Gandhi was invited by a Gujarati businessman called Dada Bhai Abdullah, who had a company in South Africa. The story of his humiliation in a train when he was traveling is very famous. But what you have to understand, what in that train which helped in changing Gandhian thoughts, and which of course helped in developing his thought, which is famously known as Satyagraha. One such thought which helped during the train humiliation was that earlier Gandhi's belief was that the British would would respect Indians once they get education, once they become civilized. But Gandhi was both, and yet he was humiliated. Then Gandhi learned it's not actually the education and the so-called civilization because of which the British are disrespecting. It's because they believe that their race was superior and these black and brown and the mix like we Indians are inferior. And then Gandhi decided to fight against that very thought. And this is one of the reasons why Gandhi started in favor of those Indians. But of course, there were many other factors. Now, there were many laws which the people in South Africa were facing, but he would obviously concern with more Indians who were facing these discriminatory laws. One such was pass law. One such was marriage law. One such was the discriminatory poll tax law. One such was immigration law. All the details I have already given in my handouts. You have to just know what were in these laws. For instance, in pass law, every Indians living in the peripheries of the cities like Sun City or Johannesburg or Transvaal or Natal, they had to bring a pass issued by an authority, failing which their deportation was very much possible. They could be fined, they could be harassed by the police. Marriage law means that all marriages had to be registered as per the local tradition and Christian laws. The Indian Hindus and Muslims living in South Africa did not have any such documents, any such paper. Of course, it was very difficult for them. Similarly, compulsorily per head tax was imposed. Certain rules of immigration was made tougher, and that is the reason why Gandhi would write some appeal paper. Gandhi would go for petition, and finally he would adopt a new method which he gave himself a name in 1906, 9th of September, Satyagraha. The nomenclature, that is the name, was given in 1906, but the idea of Satyagraha evolved over a period of time, and of course it was more purified, perfected when he continued his movement in India. Now, some of his activities in South Africa, apart from fighting against these laws, one was that he continued to write about the issues of Indians facing in South Africa in a newspaper called Indian Opinion. One such method he used was that he organized meetings of Indians living in different cities, and he started addressing them, enlightening them about the laws. One such method which he adopted in South Africa, that he literally lobbied in the positive sense that he would meet some enlightened British also, as he would continue to have interaction with the right gentlemen and women in South Africa who means business, who had good intentions and who wanted to help such poor people, such illiterate people. So Gandhi would use his academic background, his knowledge of law, into a very positive effect for those illiterate people. And during that period, he is experimenting some new political tools. And that such political tool, which he himself gave a very beautiful name, Satyagraha, which literally translated as insistence on truth, derived from two Sanskrit words, Satya and Agra. And you have to know to write at least 150 words or 250 words on Satyagraha. Already they have asked questions in essay, in GS paper, and I'm sure that you would learn shortly about how to write on Satyagraha. And also, since UPSC would not only ask what it was, what it is in the book or in Gandhi's autobiography and various biography, but also how it is applicable in our modern day world. And that is where UPSC's questions becomes very dynamic. It requires both teachers and students to keep reading, to keep thinking, and to keep discussing. And that's exactly what we will and we are doing in the classes. So, in his thought of Satyagraha, Gandhi first advised that you must search for the truth, because truth could be relative, truth could be absolute. What is right for me may be wrong for you, so you must search. And this searching is possible when you introspect, when you do a deep thinking, when you be honest to yourself and to God and to world. Since Gandhi was a religious man, so often God would come in his political thought. Then he would insist on truth. Once you have searched the truth, this is my version of truth, your next step is you must insist on truth. Once you have done it, then make God as witness. Now, once you have made God as witness, then you are now doubly sure that you are with truth. Then have no fear of any consequences. In one English word, you can say fearlessness. Why shall we fear if we are right and if God is with us? That firm belief is one of the pillars of Satyagraha. But one of the most important part of Satyagraha is in point number 5, and that is to change the heart and minds of others. And that others can be your opponent, that other can be British in those days, that others can be when you're fighting against a system, that other can be a police person, that other can be your principal of a school or a vice chancellor of a university. He would not use the word enemy, but opponent, that against whom you have some issues. What Gandhi said, that you can't attack them, you can't kill them. You have to change the heart and minds of others or opponent through peaceful method, through dialogue, through persuasion. If it is not working, then as a last resort, you have to do self-suffering. Now, in most of the cases, you would find that the people would advocate that in the last resort, you can take a weapon in your hand. In Gandhian's dictionary, even in the last resort, you cannot take a weapon. You have to use another weapon, and that weapon is self-suffering. For instance, fast. Who suffer during fast? Obviously, the person who keep fast. And you know, Gandhi's fast is very famous. It would last several days, especially against MacDonald Award in 1932, which finally led to Pune Pact. Now, what principle is working on the basis of which Gandhi was so sure that this method would not fail and it would work? And don't forget, Gandhian method had worked. That is why his Satyagraha is important even modern day life. Had it been just an ideological thought, a philosophical thought, you could have rejected it that it is a utopia, it is an idealist thought. But since Gandhi demonstrated, and not only Gandhi demonstrated, in his own time, many other Gandhians also demonstrated. Later on, you must have heard about Jayaprakash Narayan, Ram Manohar Lohia, Medha Patekar. You must have heard Sundarlal Bahuguna, a very famous environmentalist. You must have heard Irom Sharmila, another famous Satyagrahi in Manipur. These are a few names, and of course in 2011, Anna Hazare, famous protest against corruption. All these are Gandhians, or at least they claim they are Gandhian. That of course can be debated, but they all claim that they learn, even Nelson Mandela, even Aung San Suu Kyi and Dalai Lama, all these famous people who even learn and experimented Gandhian method, many of them got Nobel Peace Prize. That is based on two important principles. One, that means must be right when your end is right. So this is the famous correlation between means and end. Gandhi said that if your means are wrong, your end cannot be right. Often in many theories, including the revolutionaries and the supporters of revolutionaries, they always argue that end is important, means you can compromise. In Gandhian concept, means must be as right and pious as your end. Suppose you want to get independence or you want to get your right, whether in South Africa or in India. Now, to get your independence and to get your right, you cannot kill someone. You have to use the right means to gain independence. That is why it was said by Gandhi that it is not important when to get independence. What is important? How to get it. The second important principle on which Gandhi strongly believed that why self-suffering like fast and many other self-suffering would actually work is that man by nature is good. Now, many people believed, in many religious texts also it was written that man by nature is sinner, man by nature is bad. But there are many, of course, philosophies and religion in which it is said that man by nature is good. Gandhi also believed in this theory. So if you say I am good, you can't say that that English gentleman is also bad. He also is basically a good person, but his act is bad on that particular time. That is why it is said that Gandhi famously said that don't hate sinner, hate sin. So that Curzon or that Dalhousie or that DM or commissioner who might have issued an order or given some issue of lathi charge, that act was wrong, not the person per se. So you can't hate the person as the man is by nature good. Now these are the two important principles on the basis of which the point number 5 is linked, and that is how the Satyagraha can be summarized. Now you apply this in India or you apply it in the world, you apply it between two countries or between two communities or between two individuals. These thoughts are almost like universal truth. Whether you apply in Buddha age or you apply in Gandhian age or you apply in our age. Some of the thoughts and principles once set in history of sapiens and Homo sapiens sapiens, that would remain till this body and this world exist. Of course, many of the thoughts that includes of Mahatma Buddha as well as Mahatma Gandhi would die with the passage of time. And that sense you have to develop, and of course with our classes you would definitely develop those thoughts. So I'm sure that this concept of Satyagraha is clear, that clarity is very important to understand Gandhian thoughts in India as well as in Africa. Now another important point of Gandhian thought is what were his religious thought. For this you have to understand that what sources influenced Gandhi and what were his actually religious thought. Bhagavad Gita, according to Gandhi, was one of the texts which had influenced him. His parents, his mother especially, Jain literature and other religious literature had helped in shaping his religious thought. So in prelims, if it is asked, you can easily find out these are the thoughts from where Gandhi would derive his religious thought. And in the main exam, they would generally focus on what were his religious thought. One of his religious thought was, truth is God and God is truth. So anything which is emanating from God is truth, cannot be of two opinion. And anything which is absolute truth must have arisen from God. That is what one of the meaning. Then, in this concept of religious thought, Gandhi would believe that soul force of a religion is more important than body force. Now, what is soul force? Speaking truth, being honest, helping poor, having empathy and sympathy, love, brotherhood. These are all parts of soul force. What is body force? Going temple, mosque, church, gurudwaras, doing your rituals of day-to-day, weekly, monthly, yearly. These all are body force. Holy places, going for certain festivals. These are all part of your body. But don't forget, these are the means to achieve the end. So for Gandhi, visiting a holy shrine is not as important as helping a poor. Speaking truth is more important than saying 5-time namaz or going for puja and arti in a temple. So you would find that a lot of people who appears to be religious by his attire, by his appearances and day-to-day act, but they are not doing good for society, not doing good for themselves, not doing good for family, not doing good for the country. Gandhian thought is still relevant. And how it is relevant? That whether you have performed your day-to-day religious duty or not, it is between you and God. But if you have told lie in government and if you have taken money from corruption, then you're not a true religious Hindu or a Muslim. If you look at corruption is one of the serious issue among the bureaucrats, policemen, even in businessmen and even in civil society, NGOs, journalism, you take it any profession and you would find corruption is one of the serious issue and we all are impacted. But don't forget, we are victim at some places and we are culprit at another place and we still claim we are a religious man. Obviously, this double standard would be removed from your life the moment you believe in the soul force of Gandhi. So when the question is asked that Gandhi's thought and its relevance in 21st century, that question was asked just 3-4 years back. Is it still relevant? Then another important Gandhian religious thought was that for any person to be true religious, he and she must be always helpful to mankind. He cannot be biased towards one particular community or one particular gender or race, etc. In his religious thought, all religion are different route for the same destination. This destination is suppose God. So different religion like Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism are just different route, but the destination is same. Another important point of his religious thought was that the core of all religion is same, only peripheries are different. So the structure of temple and mosque, gurudwara and church are different. The way we worship are different. But in the core of all religion, truth, love, brotherhood, equality, humanity, sympathy, all these are found in all major religion of the world. This is what Gandhian religion and its relevance in modern India. Thank you very much. Thank you.